26 COD 152795, Robert and Ann Buckholz. If you're and your name?
Robert Buckholz.
Yes, sir. The way we'll proceed is just as you've seen previously, the county will go first, and then I'll be happy to listen to any response that you have. If you just bear with me 1 second. Okay, if the county's ready to proceed, as first witness, please.
Officer LaRue.
Chris LaRue, Charlotte County Code Compliance. This investigation was originally conducted by Officer Reinwald. It was opened on October 22nd, 2015 for a complaint of junk-like conditions and an unregistered boat. On that case, a notice of violation was served in accordance to Florida Law 162. The case was brought before to hearing on May 4th, 2016 for the violations of junk-like conditions, prohibited use of the property, parking of boats, recreational vehicles, trucks and trailers, along with international property maintenance code violations of responsibility and accessory structure. A new complaint was received at this location on September the 7th. I conducted an inspection on September the 8th, finding junk-like conditions consisting of, but not limited to, an inoperable vehicle in the driveway, a boat with expired registration, jet skis in the backyard that appeared to be inoperable, 2 of them on the ground, and some other items creating a junk-like condition and a prohibited use of the property. I met with the owner on that occasion, did not issue a notice, an affidavit of non-compliance at that time to give the owner some time to go ahead and work to correct the violations. I conducted further inspections on September the 12th, September the 19th, and September the 23rd, which was the day the property was abated. This A&C is a one-day fine with an abatement cost for a total cost of $563. That concludes my testimony.
Thank you. Anything further from the county?
Nothing further.
Mrs. Buckholz, your response, please.
On the original violation that he's quoting of September of 15, the case was dismissed. I have a letter from that. When he did come back on this recent violation, I had talked to a code enforcer in May that had written this back up that, according to him, is documented that that's what the original violation was for. It was May 16th, I believe. Let me find the paperwork here. But and that at that time my wife had met particularly because I am working during the daytime, and then she had met with the man many times over many years now. And each time that we meet with him, I have the violation sheet. It gets closed. It's either closed prior to when we do it or after we shortly talk to him. I immediately start trying to comply to whatever he's wanted to make him happy, so I don't have to meet yourself in this circumstance. From the day one I bought the house 4 years ago, I've been called from the first day by some psychotic neighbor that continually calls on me. I've had permits for the various different projects, from driveway permit that I put in because of the prior officer said I had a trailer in the yard that could not be parked there, and his suggestion was build a driveway, so I expanded my driveway. Each and every time I have tried to comply to this man, to the psycho neighbor that I have that calls continuously on me. My son mows the lawn once a week, every week. I've burned up 3 lawnmowers, 3 weed eaters in 4 years. Periodically, the weed does not get trimmed around my boat. My cars are licensed every year. I made a mistake. I didn't get it licensed until May when he noticed me. I did license it immediately. Then my son lost the stickers. We went and paid again to have it licensed a week later to have them licensed. I talked to this man. My wife talked to him initially.
The code enforcer came by and we talked about rectifying the situation. We walked in the backyard. We looked at the jet skis, and we agreed that a 6-foot privacy fence would be a good way to rectify this situation. So I have receipts for the lumber, I have receipts for the permit, and the fence was to be built, but the day before the fence was to be built, the jet skis were taken from us. Our personal property was taken from us. The first day that the code enforcers came by, they said, listen, we know you've been working with a previous code enforcer. Unfortunately, that man has passed away, and the things he told you that would rectify these situations are not good enough. So now we want you to do this. And I said, well, 10 days is a very short amount of time. My husband works all day and doesn't get home till dark. He said, ma'am, don't worry about that. As long as we see progression, we're not here to be bad guys. As long as we see you working with us, don't worry about this time frame. So at that point, we talked about some cars in our driveway.
They took the pictures.
Okay, you have the pictures, I guess,
Of
because
the
we have
abandoned
pictures.
vehicle that the gentleman said, which according to your front page of your website says that you can have one unlicensed vehicle
Yeah.
that appears to be operable.
And as
And
you can see from the
The
pictures.
pictures they have will show you the vehicle is very good-looking vehicle. I drove it home from the person's house 3 weeks prior to them taking the vehicle.
It's
from
section 3-9-76, option B, a single unlicensed motor vehicle which by outward appearance appears operable is permitted to be parked in the driveway.
And I had just purchased the vehicle 3 weeks prior. I have a receipt from the gentleman that I purchased this from. The vehicle is from Canada. I've been waiting for a title to come from the man. I tried to explain this to the gentleman multiple times. 2 days before he took the vehicle, I told him I was going that day to buy the materials. Since I get paid once a week and I support 4 kids and pay college tuition, I can't immediately jump out and spend the money that I wasn't prepared to spend.
So we have receipts for the permit and receipts for the lumber, and the lumber was
Was
stacked
literally
right by the
standing
jet skis.
next
So
to the jet skis.
they had to have seen the progression
They
that
had
we
to
were
walk by
trying
it
every
multiple
weekend.
times. They took
It's
the
kind of hard to follow when you're both talking at the same time.
They took my wheelbarrow and threw it across the yard and physically bent it. I have a picture on my phone of it. They ripped the covers off of the 3 jet skis they did leave there. They ripped them off and let them flapping through the yard. Everything that they did was pick up 2 jet skis, one I've had for 20 years and have ridden from California to Florida and everywhere in between. I raced it for 3 years professionally. They took a vehicle I've owned. Yes, it was not registered in the state of Florida, but it was owned and licensed in Colorado where it came from. It has my feet molded into the hull of the ship for doing the tricks I do. The man did not tell me 2 days prior when I said by Friday night I'll have a fence built. The fence was laying there. I had a vehicle that I have a bill of sale for that I believe is 30 days in Florida to be able to license it or get it registered. I didn't own it for 3 weeks. I tried to explain to the man. The prior code enforcement was a very well-spoken, very understandable, and could understand situations of somebody calling from the very first day I bought the house. Literally, I have sheets. It wasn't even in my name yet. It was still in the company that had repossessed it. They have harassed me during inspections. While I'm inspecting a driveway standing with an officer, he passes my inspection. Within an hour, he's back. The person has called him saying I'm doing improper things, and he's there to try to find out what I did wrong. This guy has harassed me countless times. I don't know what else to do. We comply every single time. It's closed every single time. The one prior letter that was sent out, it was closed. I have the letter. I don't understand what this issue is. This man is the most unreasonable. I would never give this man a gun or let him be a cop. He'd be the first one to shoot somebody. He has no justification for this at all.
We were doing what we were told to do.
I fixed the car to get it to where I could move the trailer that was in the backyard. That weekend, the very first thing, I didn't even have the car's bumper on to get the car finished. I pulled in the backyard, moved the trailer where he wanted it, not where the prior inspector wanted it. He wanted it over on the side of the house. I then mowed any other spot that he wanted. I don't know, I borrowed a weed eater to weed eat areas that might have been slightly ungrown around the house. But the lawn is mowed every Friday by my child. I pay him every Friday. I don't know what more I can do to appease this man.
All right, I understand. Response from the county?
Yes, I'd like to note that high grass is not part of the affidavit of noncompliance in this case. Also, Officer LaRue, do you have pictures from September 2016 that show the date of the conditions of the property on the date it was abated?
I do. I have pictures starting back on September 8th when I started my investigation.
Okay,
To the
those
abatement.
fairly and accurately depict the...
They do, sir.
You want to show them to
I've seen
Mr.
the
Mr.
pictures.
Buck?
I don't need to see them. He just showed them to me.
Do you have any objection to me admitting those into evidence?
I don't know what I can do otherwise, sir. I mean, I'm going to have to obey by whatever you say. I just find this that,
I understand, sir.
when the vehicle, you can see the black vehicle that he had, the jet skis are in the exact location that the prior inspector had, but the pictures that they're showing have the covers that have been torn off that were tied to the vehicles. The engine that is sitting on the front ground was the engine that I pulled out of the vehicle to swap them over, which they were told in advance that this is what the vehicle was purchased for. It was to fix the other vehicle. The engine was sitting on the ground because the engine hoist is a metal-wheeled vehicle that one of the wheels got off, and the engine fell into the yard. It rained for 2 days solid after I did this, and I immediately got it out, drug it out of the yard because he had said, get it out of the yard. So I got it out of the yard, put it in the driveway, and started to disassemble it.
I understand.
The gentleman said anything that was in my car that I took out and put, that he didn't like where it was, I put it into the car. He said, that didn't fix the problem. I said, well, it went to the car. I put the motor back in the car. He says, that didn't fix the problem. I said, it went to the car. I mean, how can I take it off the ground and put it in the car? Where else am I supposed to put it on? I have no garage.
We just don't understand why the car is towed. I mean, the pictures show by outward appearance,
Granted,
appears operable.
I had a power washer for one night there because I cleaned my driveway to make them happy. It has a cherry picker there because I was returning the cherry picker that I had bought, which is the engine hoist, that I had borrowed from someone. I have a neighbor down the street. I have pictures. He has car trailers in his yard, RVs in his yards, boat trailers with 3-foot grass growing through it in the right-of-way of the subdivision. It's been that way since the day I bought my house.
And yet we get harassed.
There's a car on the ground, physically laying on the ground with 6 covers over the top of it and the plate laying on the back of the vehicle 6 houses away from mine. My neighbor's grass around has been 3 feet tall. They don't get called on. But for some reason, this man feels that I've done something inappropriate, and each and every time. The law allows me 10 days to work on my vehicle. The original violation that it says it was on a jack stand, I had the struts out, putting new struts in. I have 10 days, according to the law that I know of, by what I've read. I have 30 days to license the vehicle. I owned it for 3 weeks.
So we can't get to the vehicles because we don't have a title, and all his tools are in the truck.
Yeah, I lost
So that's
$500 plus with the
hundreds of
Snap-on
dollars.
and Cornwell tools that were sitting in the front seat of
And
the
all the
vehicle.
car parts are
and
now
all the
unavailable
car
to
parts
us.
that were going to be put on the car, or the reason why I purchased the vehicle, are now in a salvage yard that they won't give me any of my stuff because I don't have the title to the vehicle. I'm not going to title a vehicle now that I can't even own.
All right, now, I understand your level of frustration and that you feel like you've been pushed around on this thing, but I wanted to ask you a question. On those photographs, what we're looking at is Officer LaRue testified that those pictures show what your property looked like on September 23rd, 2016. Mm-hmm. My question to you, that's what we're focusing on, and I understand that, and I don't blame you for being upset, but do those pictures show what your property looked like on September 23rd, 2016?
Those are dated the 12th. The cherry picker was gone. We cleaned up the driveway.
The 23rd, this one might be. Well, this one would be, I
Well, here's
guess.
the 23rd. That's a picture of them towing it away.
Well, this one's dated. That's what's the 12th? That one ain't it.
Right.
This one would be, that's them towing it away.
So just the pictures dated the 23rd? Is that what you're asking about? You're not asking about pictures dated the 12th?
No, I'm looking at the 23rd of September.
These are, yes. These,
Okay,
The
so
other code enforcer before this one told us to put the jet skis in this area and cover them with the blue tarps that you see here on the ground.
okay, so those pictures that you have in your hand, Mrs. Buck, also accurately depict the conditions on the property on the 23rd of September of this year?
Yes.
Okay, now, Sean, would you put those together for me and bring them up here? Leave those top two on the top, if you would.
23rd.
Top two on the top.
And we'd like to offer those photographs and evidence.
I'm sorry?
We'd like to offer those photographs and evidence.
Yeah, that's, I presume that it would be, so.
But I will say that the tarps and such that are on the ground, yeah, that they've thrown them to the ground. The wheelbarrow was not on the ground like that, and the tarps were on each one of them, and all the jet skis had covers on them.
And conveniently enough, you can't see all the building material because that's now a 6-foot privacy fence, as we discussed would rectify the
And
situation.
he would be actually to the right of that truck, right next to the boat. It was actually leaning against the boat where they made
All the building
asked us
materials
to
for
move
the
the boat.
fence.
Okay.
And all those jet skis and trailers are behind it. There's the truck. And
It appears
It
operable.
appears operable. It does not. It appears to be a nice vehicle. The one that's upside down there is raced from the one country to the other. It's been literally in front of every monument we can have water in front of.
Okay.
There's the engine that wasn't supposed to be put back into the car that I was told that was evading the problem, putting the vehicle back into the car. The motor back in.
A response from the county, please?
Officer Liu, could you describe the conditions as you observed them on September 23rd?
Yes. As the photos are showing, the picture that's up right now, the vehicle is not operable. This picture is taken through the grill of the vehicle, and I'm not denying that he took the motor off the ground and put it in the engine compartment, but if a radiator was there, I couldn't see the motor, so therefore it's not operable. You can see a hose area,
Please, just one at a time.
a hose area that has no hose even connected to it. So the vehicle was not operable. The tires may have been aired up, but it was not an operable vehicle. Wasn't the entire time, because the wife told me when I first went there that they'd purchased the vehicle to put the motor in it in another vehicle. And then they were going to do something either with scrap or get rid of that black Durango.
Just said all that.
So,
All right, so,
but the pictures that are before you, sir, represent what I saw on the 23rd of September. The jet skis that were in back, I believe maybe possibly 5 jet skis total. The only 2 that were taken were the 2 that were not properly registered. The other 3 did not appear operable, but since they were properly registered, they were left. Those photographs of those jet skis, if I could brought in the photographs from the finding date, are exactly in the same condition that they were on October the 22nd, 2015, when Officer Reinwald was out there investigating it.
As we said, this is not a prior case, sir. We're discussing current
Did we
events.
not talk about a fence rectifying the situation?
And did you not yourself and the other gentleman there agree that this was a proper fix? And did you not, 2 days prior, be told that I was going that night to purchase this stuff since I got paid on Friday? I was going,
Here's the receipt.
the receipt, that, and was not the fence material completely
Leaning up
concrete,
against right there?
poles and fencing, pre-built fencing leaning against the boat? Was it not sitting there? And that on that same day, did we not have an exceptionally long conversation of what would make you happy and stop
If I
having
can,
issue
sir.
with me? I believe that was
We had
all.
an extensive conversation on September 23rd after the property was abated. I never spoke to this gentleman prior to the 23rd. I dealt specifically with his wife. So I never had any contact with
No,
him.
sir,
It was
I
all
will bring up-
And did you say a
Please.
fence was a good fix?
Mrs. Buckholz, please, I can only hear one side at a time here, so if you're yelling at each other, it's kind of hard to follow. Mr. LaRue, Officer LaRue.
I would be glad to go to my phone records
Just hang
and
on
pull
one
up the conversation on my birthday that we had about what would make you happy and what would make you have no problems with the situation. I will be glad to bring up the hours
Durango ever mentioned?
of how long we talked and what you expected me to do. You told me that I needed to remove a power washer. The power washer, I had already said, was already removed. You told me to get rid of the motor. The motor had been removed, and I put it back into a vehicle. You told me the things that you required. You just lied and said that you didn't talk to me, and I will be glad to go on my phone to my phone records and show the minutes of how long we discussed, you and I, from my shop that I work in. So you just lied to me saying that you didn't talk to me prior to the 23rd.
Sir, I don't
All right,
remember.
well, okay.
I'll be
listen,
glad to bring it up on my
Ladies
phone.
and gentlemen, please, okay? I've got to maintain order here. If you want to snipe at each other, that's not for this hearing today.
Does not speak the truth or hold behind his speech.
Sir, I understand. For procedural reasons, I'll go ahead and admit the photographs as Charlotte County Composite Exhibit 1 into evidence. I think I've heard sufficient evidence on this, and while you folks have obviously had quite a deal on your hands, and there may have been some confusion between Mr. Reinwald's initial comments and then Officer LaRue's follow-up on that, the focus of what we're here about today is on the September 23rd, 2016. These photographs that you have confirmed show the conditions of the property on that date. And in light of that admission, in light of the codes, I'm going to affirm this affidavit as stated. I know you disagree with that, and you know when you have the right to appeal that.
I figured it was going to go that way, so.
Well, sir,
It's just that's how it goes. I understand you have a job and that it was going to be stated this way, but at least I got to speak the truth and someone else got to lie. So whatever you say, sir, I'll be glad to take care of, just like I always have tried to comply with the law.
yes, sir. Okay, thank you, Mr. and Mrs. Buckles.
Unlike some lying people.
36.